Hi, I'm Denis Mastromonaco, the music director of the Mississauga Symphony Orchestra and Mississauga Symphony Youth Orchestra. Well, Conductor and Maestro are basically the same thing. Maestro is just sort of the formal title of what a conductor does, a European-based name that we give to conductors. Well, I think living in Europe is certainly a treat. Not all conductors can go to Europe and live there and work there as I did. And I have to say, having lived in Salzburg and Vienna and in Siena, a town just south of Florence in Italy, they did, of course, color my training, having spent a lot of time diving right into the European standards, which, of course, led me down a path that gives me my strengths in certain aspects of music. Perhaps I've avoided certain things because of my training, but an absolute treat, and I would do it over again and over again and over. Well, going back in time, having the possibility of being there at Beethoven's side or even during his life, I think there's always two things, right? You look back as an artist and wonder what composers were thinking, because we as modern day musicians, and in particular as a conductor, my approach is to recreate. I am not creating music. It's not like we're taking something from scratch. And when you're trying to recreate something, you want to know what the composer was thinking. What were they eating? How were they feeling when they wrote this piece of music? Were they happy, sad, joyous? Were things challenging for them? So of course, at Beethoven's deathbed and La Commedia has ended, this of course goes back to a lot of his earlier life, where he did comment a lot about life is just a big comedy. It's also, some Italians use as a saying, La Commedia, which is not necessarily comedy. We think of the word as comedy, but it's not a funny comedy. A commedia in Italian is a show. It's been a lot of years since I've had the pleasure to perform as an instrumentalist. I was a trumpet player in my early years. Looking back, if I had to choose an instrument over again, I'd probably go with trumpet again. It was my choice. In fact, I won't want to admit this to anyone. This is the first time publicly that this has come out, that I actually started on the clarinet. I played, and I was apparently really good at it. And after 2 months, I was forced to play it because the school says, you must play this instrument. So I played clarinet. I despised it. As a young performer, I don't know, I must have been about 11 or 12. And when given the chance to change instruments, I immediately switched to trumpet and haven't looked back. When I had to enter university at age 17, 18, I couldn't be a conductor. There just wasn't any training programs. There were summer programs, but it wasn't like it is today. You had to go first do a performance degree. So I continued as a trumpet player, learning conducting on the side. Yeah, that's a long time ago. Oh, so this is interesting. So the whole thing with the audience to your back and what we feel. When I'm on the podium, I don't consider what the audience is thinking or feeling. My job is to cater to what the musicians need. And the musicians require attention. The music requires attention. And it's my job to create the vehicle to allow the musicians to recreate what's on the page. There's always the thought that, you hear the audience. You can sometimes hear coughing or rustling, and they're there. But I wouldn't say at any moment that I'm consciously thinking of that. However, when you finish creating this product and you turn around and realize that it's like proposing to someone, or you have this, and then once you offer it to someone as a gift, the audience that is, and to see the reaction, that is magical. And to hear their applause and to see them react to what you just offered, it's truly magical. March of 2020, we were shut down. Our last concert was mid-February, and we were just 2 days before our concert and received the the notice from here, the Living Arts Centre, that they would be closed, and I thought, oh, a couple of weeks, we'll redo this concert, a couple of months, 3, 4, 5 months, maybe we'll do something in the summer, and continual planning. And here we are, not quite 2 years later, but it's been a long time. And I think what I miss is the act of creating music with fellow musicians. Going through the process, you know, it's challenging, it's not always fun. And actually, when a lot of people say music is fun, it's not fun. First of all, it's a job and it's a passion. It's a job that I'm passionate about. So we create something, and that is what I think most musicians miss. Of course, the audience interaction, because we did some virtual concerts, that was eerie, finishing a piece of music and hearing silence. First time stepping out on stage after so many months away. There's always an energy behind a concert, but this was special to be back in Hammerson Hall with a live audience and with the orchestra. There was an extra fervor in the audience and the orchestra and the musicians, so it was wonderful. We're glad to be back. So working with youth and youth musicians is different for everyone. I have my approach. I consider them musicians, period. Not youth and not youth musicians. So I treat them as if they were professionals, and it takes an aspect away that happens in a lot of organizations, which is, you know, I don't want to be their parent. I don't want to cater to them. It's behavior or anything like that. So when you set the rules from the beginning, they respond. That's part of it. The other is I offer them some really wonderful works. I always say, if you feed them steak, they will enjoy quality, right? Feed them quality music, they will eventually understand it and treat it with respect. And watching them develop from that first rehearsal where they're not sure what's going on, to the final product, which the audience only sees the final product and never saw the whole scale that the staircase that they've come up. And that's wonderful. I almost wish we can document all the rehearsals to show the audience the progression. That's a wonderful experience. And as tough as I am on the youth orchestra, which I am, I respect them as musicians, and they respond in kind. No. I think when you start out, there are certain rules. Put in the palm of your hand, curl around, point the palm down, and the baton should be an extension of your forearm. That is the standard every student learns. But I have seen some incredible conductors. I should say, you know, Riccardo Muti, one of my favorite idols, has a very traditional grip. And then my other idol, which is Carlos Kleiber, has completely different. So whatever can convey to the musicians accuracy and musicianship, and if it works, be clear and, you know, hold it as you wish. So things like the Star Wars concert, movie concerts, or Harry Potter Live, and the video game music live, Zelda and Final Fantasy and all of that world, that's fantastic, right? That's great, and that's entertaining. What I feel, and again, my opinion, is that classical music is not entertainment. Playing Xbox or you know, watching TikTok or anything like that, that's entertainment. Listening to a Beethoven symphony is not entertainment. It's the difference between reading Shakespeare or a quality novel versus reading a comic book. One is entertainment and one is culturally satisfying. And when I say cultural, I don't mean cultures. I mean understanding of art or poetry, or in this case, music. So for me, there is a divide there that has been mixed up here in Canada in particular, that there's no difference between Beethoven and video game music. Although I love doing those concerts, Star Wars, and you know, we've done James Bond in concert and a lot of those film things, wonderful. And I love that. But for me, it is entertainment, and I distinguish that between entertainment and classical music. Sometimes you crave McDonald's, and you go and have McDonald's, but you can't have McDonald's every day. It should be a treat, or like a chocolate bar. I like Snickers. I have Snickers, but I can't eat that. You need to have your steak and potatoes, your basic food groups, and that to me is classical music. In this world, in the putting on a concert world, it's like building. I've talked to people engineers that are building, a building. I'm sure when this was built, or the CN Tower, or bridges, anyone that's involved in constructing something like that, you kind of go like mad for an intense period of time, and then you take time off. So for me, it's the ramp up, building up to close to a concert. As we get closer, it's so busy. The 2 or 3 days before a concert, they're 15-hour days. Being here all day, all night, and doing that, even in a short span, let's say 2, 3, 4 days in a row, and then you get up Friday morning and you're like, I'm not doing anything, and you take a half day off to do nothing, and that's it, nothing. Downtime is nothing. Or I go play soccer. That's my favorite escape away from work, is heading off to play soccer. Well, what's in my head right now is Christmas music, because that's what I drove in listening to a station that was playing Christmas music, so of course that's all that's running through my head right now. But normally, outside of work, you'll find everything on there from Latin music. I love listening to salsa, tangos, and Spanish music, Mark Anthony and all of that. And then there's pop. I love 80s pop and early 90s, because that's of course my age. That's where it was. And folk music, East Coast music. I love listening to East Coast music. It's bizarre, but I love it. It's fun. And again, it's entertainment. So on my spare time when I'm not studying music, I listen to everything. To view classical music as part of the society, to view going to the orchestra as something you do. I think finding work for classical musicians in the years to come will be extremely challenging, if not impossible. And what we need more of is audiences. People go to the movies, once a week, once a month, regularly. I would say to someone, every time you turn on Netflix, for every one time you put on Netflix and watch the movie, would you go to a concert? Well, they'd be there every night. And that's what we need. We need audiences, and to be honest, dollar support. If you want to know more about the Mississauga Symphony Orchestra, find us at mississaugasymphony.ca, and of course follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.